and welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is John Bunn. I'm joined by my bearded good buddy, my best bearded good buddy, Mr. Nick Miller. Nick, May is here. It is wedding season for me. I'm about to go to California in like 2 days to shoot a wedding in San Diego. Then a couple weeks later, I'm in Guatemala. Then I'm in Colorado. Then I'm in New York. Then I'm in a lot of places. A lot of stuff's going on. How are you? Are you going places? I know you're in the middle of a stretch.
I'm going places not as exotic and as fancy, I don't think, as you.
Okay.
Yeah, driving a couple to Kansas City. We're going about an hour north of New York City, and then a couple in Colorado Springs area for us. And then we'll be done until like August. So we have like a good 6 or 7 week break. Doing a family vacation to Yosemite this summer. I'm very excited about that. That should be nice. But John, I am so thrilled with the people that we have on the podcast today. Erin and Mac from Hello Tomorrow. They are some of my favorite people in the industry. They are just funny, genuine people. They were one of my first follows on Instagram that I followed back when I started Nick Miller Films before Wild Oak Film, like a long time ago. Like this is like 2012-ish.
Wow. They've been around for a while, like 16 years.
That's
no big deal.
That's what they said.
They kill it when it comes to story. Like
yes,
they're killing it. Their films just are so like raw and like real, and we wanted to have them on. Yeah, they're Canadian. We've talked about they've been on the podcast before, so if you don't know them, look them up. Just search How to Film Weddings, Hello Tomorrow on YouTube. You'll find it. But we wanted to talk to them today about telling better stories, and they did just that. Nick, I'm saying.
They did.
I'm handing it over to you.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. Let's go ahead and just jump into this week's episode. So
all right,
here we go.
Let's go.
It seems like there are new cameras and equipment coming out all of the time. It gets increasingly confusing and the FOMO is real. John and I have been preaching for years that the best way to try out new gear is to rent before you buy. There is only one place that we recommend when it comes to renting, and that is our friends over at Lens Rentals. Lens Rentals is the premier source for renting not only camera equipment, but lenses, drones, projectors, and more. Do you have a big project coming up and you really need to wow your couple? Wanting to test out the newest camera before you drop thousands on it? You need Lens Rentals. My favorite thing is that if I love something I rent, I can keep it. They apply a portion of the rental fee to the purchase price, and within a few simple clicks, the gear is mine. So head over to howtofilmweddings.com/lensrentals and use promo code HTFW15 at checkout for 15% off of your order. Lens Rentals, the only place we recommend renting.
All right, well, welcome Erin and Mac from Hello Tomorrow back on the How to Film Weddings podcast. Why don't you guys say hello to How to Film Weddings, the audience? What's good in your world?
Hello, everybody.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having us back.
Yeah, we're Maclean and Erin. We're back. It's been a minute.
We can't leave.
But we're here.
You're
your favorite Canadians.
Yeah, probably true. No, man, Nick and I are super pumped. Super pumped. I'm so pumped that I said poop. To have you guys back on, we had the opportunity, Nick, to get to spend time IRL, and that's what the kids say for in real life. With these two. Yeah, well, yeah, they do. I think they do. Okay. I don't know. I'm no longer a kid. But we got to spend time with these two in real life in Scottsdale in January. And we just wanted to have you guys back on the podcast. I don't know how many times you've been on the podcast at this point, but lots of new things going on. And so we're really excited to have you back. So
we're stoked to be here.
I'm stoked that you are here as well. Nick, I don't know if you know or not, these two are decent when it comes to story. And we've been getting lots of questions in our groups lately, just talking about like how to find the story in a wedding film, how to make it more interesting, how to not make it vanilla, how to not make it cookie cutter. And so we thought, we have a good idea. We should bring some of the best people we know on storytelling back onto the podcast. So without like doing all this on my own, I feel like I'm just rambling at this point. I get nervous around famous people. I'm sorry. No, I would love to kind of get you guys' take because you guys are killing it when it comes to stories. So maybe a little bit of backstory on how you got into, you've talked about how you've done wedding films on previous episodes, but like, how'd you really find your lane when it came to how you wanted to tell stories?
That's a great question. Yeah, because we have been doing this a while. We've been doing this for 16 years now. And yeah, we're old. And we started in 2006, and we were just kind of doing, figuring it out as we went.
Yeah.
Just making basically music videos, as a lot of people do when they're starting out.
Dutch angles, zooming in on stuff. It was really good.
A lot of servo zooms.
Really good.
A lot of that. Like where it's motorized and it would.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
dad
it was fun.
cam.
I liked it. Yeah.
And then so 2 years into doing that, I had the chance to go to Vancouver Film School, which is something I'd always wanted to do, and I learned a ton about story in terms of documentary and narrative in that 12-month program. And coming out of it, I was like, how can I apply this to weddings? And then from there on out, we went full time, and we kind of angled our business to really focus on that, telling stories instead of just music videos, which now is a very common thing. A lot of people are approaching wedding films, I'd say most are, to tell a story. But at the time, not a whole lot of people were doing it, especially up where we are. So we thought, let's try it.
Well, I think at the time, too, telling a story, like, out of linear order of the day was also, like, what is this? Like, I remember being like, Mac, are you sure? Like, we can't see the bride in her dress at the beginning before we've seen her put it on. And, like, I was stressed about it, but you were confident. And it all worked out.
Naive, maybe.
Yeah. And, story is one of those things that, we hear often in our industry. And so much so that, it's almost turned into one of those things that everyone says, but nobody knows what it is, or we have an idea what it is. We're like, oh, I'm story driven, but that really means I include audio from your wedding day. Like it, I think that a lot of people just have a tough time figuring out what that is or how to develop it or how to think about it. So, you say that you guys have really leaned into story, but what is it? Like, what is story, and what do people need to be thinking about when it comes to their wedding film so that they can be, more story driven, if you want to think of it that way.
Yeah, we found the same thing, and we were the same way, especially when starting out. We were like, okay, let's do story, and I was like, cool. So sound bites and less montagey, and that was kind of it.
Yeah, started out strong.
But as I kind of dug more and more into it, realizing there are elements of story that go into story. So story's made up of parts.
And part of this we talked about, I think, on the thingy.
The thingy.
With them, the thingy in the summertime with the thing.
Oh, that's right.
Remember?
What was it?
I hid in the corner. Remember that time?
Yes.
Calibrate workshop. Yes.
Yeah.
Calibrate. Yes,
The
that's
thing
true.
where I hid in the corner.
I remember
was
that every
amazing.
time I come in this room. Oh, gosh.
But yeah, so the elements that make up story being theme, character, setting, and of course the whole 3-act structure. And those, are broken down differently in different mediums. So literature versus television versus film and documentary stuff. So really trying to identify what those things are can sound scary and somewhat lofty, but you can reduce it down to very practical things. And once we kind of figured that out and how you can do a lot of that work before a wedding, at least having a game plan of what you're aiming at, therefore going into the edit, you have a much clearer direction of where you want to go.
And a big part, like when he says learning it before, I think we've talked about this before, is getting to know your couple as best as you can before the wedding day, including not just how did you guys meet, but finding out about their life and about what they like and what they, what they do with their time. It just really helps to be able to kind of identify the things on the day that are then going to be could be an additional character. We have a wedding coming up. They met over Airstreams. That was their thing.
That's true.
And they have one, and we're like, well, that Airstream was going to be a character in the film. So, that kind of thing.
And I think one of the trickiest things coming from or learning story for filmmaking is a thing that's often talked about is conflict. And in weddings, it's not exactly clear or evident there's any conflict. A couple are getting married. It's a wedding day, so obviously it's a happy ending.
We like to dig up all their old fights and kind of put it out there as well. We think it's
That's smart.
Yeah, poke and prod.
Yeah.
And so, but then we kind of over time realize, there is conflict in a couple's story, just not necessarily happening on the wedding day. So as we kind of figured that out and then kind of got brave enough to just straight up ask couples hey, in your relationship, what obstacles did you overcome? And then usually in some way or another, it can come up on the wedding day quite naturally. And so kind of having an eye out for that has really helped us in terms of our direction when we're putting a film together.
Yeah, that's really good. Like the wedding I filmed last weekend, he's from the UK, she's from here in the States, and they had a wedding date scheduled for October, and then the borders got shut down, and so he couldn't do it, and so they did it now, which is, May. And of course, like I've weaved that into their story, like that conflict of, oh my goodness, we have footage of her having to go visit him and them not having to say goodbye and having to, all that kind of stuff. And you start thinking about that and layering that into your story, and it does make it way more interesting. You talked about theme, character, setting. You said that, I'd love to hear more about when you're thinking about like the theme, what do you mean by that? How are you finding the theme of the day? Maybe even how are you finding it with a couple that might be a little less exciting?
I don't know. I don't have any of those. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does happen, unfortunately. But so theme isn't something you can always, at least in my opinion, you can't necessarily find ahead of time super clearly. You might have a good idea, but usually theme being the overarching message or of the story. For us, we've done a lot where couples are overcoming long distance or grief in their life or any great obstacle that they've faced individually or together.
I mean, COVID was the character for a while.
Totally.
So
that the theme that theme of like love transcends distance is a common one. And again, it's not always super evident. It's not always something you can find super clearly. But if you're looking for it and you can lean into it, once you do find it, it can make such a greater impact to the viewer. Because ultimately we want people to care. And we find that the path to caring is making someone feel something, or pardon me, other way around. The path to making someone feel something is having them care. So caring about what the couple have gone through or are going through, who they are as people, again, a much greater impact.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to this type of stuff, I think a lot of people don't put that extra time in to really learn people's backstory and figure out what the theme might be and really know who their characters are and that kind of stuff, because it is more work. It's I just want to show up on my Saturday, film my wedding, and then go home and create a video from it. But whenever you decide, okay, story is important to me, I want to create something that's both meaningful to the couple, but also makes some sort of impact in the world that I live in, if that's what we want to do with our work. And doing what you're talking about it's more difficult. It's to figure these things out and to figure out a theme, because most, there's probably a theme. I'm going to say there's definitely a theme to every single wedding. And there's some where it's going to be in your face, like the couple that I had a few years ago, whenever they got introduced into their reception and he wore an inflatable dino suit and they just started the party right away. They were different, and party is our theme, right? It was really easy to find. But then there's other that are so subtle that you're only going to be able to find it if you dig a little bit. So maybe it's harder to find a theme. And when it's difficult to that, maybe what would you look for? Are you relying more on who the character is? Are you focusing more on the setting of things? How, if that theme is having a tough time popping up, what are some of the other things that you're trying to focus on, maybe to pull out that theme so that you can tell a better story?
Yeah. Character is a real massive one, in my opinion. I think usually people remember a character better than they remember a plot of a film. So I feel like if you really identify your characters, you really do get to know them, and have that reflected in the film, the theme is a little more evident to pop up as you are doing that digging. Because yes, it is more work, but I would argue it's less work overall. It's less work on the back end. How many times have we all sat down to edit and we're like, I don't necessarily know where to start. I've got all this footage, cool, now what? And instead trying to flip that and do some more work ahead of time that it isn't that much. Once you get in the groove of it and have your systems in place, it can be quite efficient. But if you do that work to get to know your characters, and if there are any other characters on the day, and not just a questionnaire, like actually do some digging, actually hang out with these people, is something that's overlooked. So yeah, finding that theme, I think, can really come out as you learn more about characters and how the couple got together. And yeah.
But there's a lot of movies out there that you enjoy watching, and I've grown to like, that are just basically a character study, and there really isn't a plot. It just kind of is following, the arc of this person and what they're learning and where they end up. And so I think that is a big way to be able to make people care if you can't identify maybe an obvious theme.
Right. Because it can be open to interpretation too.
For sure. I remember when I got started doing this, and I was, I went full time. And so I met up with a guy that does more commercial work in town. And we were just sitting there talking and stuff. He's like, man, I couldn't do what you do. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I've seen, your stuff's really pretty. He goes, well, let me tell you what I do. We have meetings with our clients. We storyboard everything. And then whenever we storyboard, we go to a site and we take pictures of this shot and this shot. And I make notes, and I have this clipboard, and it's pages and pages of stuff. And he goes, really, the editing is simple because I know exactly every single thing that I'm going to do beforehand, before I even get there. So I know what I'm supposed to shoot. I know how I'm supposed to edit it. I know how it's supposed to go, right? And whenever you are creating something, that's a little bit more planned out, right? Whether that's, literature, writing a book, or a movie, film, that kind of stuff, you can plan that sort of stuff out. You were talking about this 3-act structure, the different kinds. And, we would fall into more of the documentary type because it's a live event. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. So we can do as much pre-production as we want. We can learn a whole bunch of things, but we can't actually plan out how things are going to go and what's going to happen. So as you're thinking about a 3-act structure and applying it to a wedding film, what are some things that you guys are looking for, that you are thinking of, that would help other people create that 3-act structure in something that we're doing?
Definitely. So yeah, 3-act structure, the main elements of it, if you guys have probably seen it, but the graph is typically just a straight line.
Are these numbers supposed to be moving?
No. Okay. Sorry, are we recording? The line's going up, and then it goes down at around 3/4 of the way through. And the idea being, the first act, you're setting things up, you're building the world, it's introducing the characters, all of that. Then you have an inciting incident, and this is, again, in traditional films. Then you have rising action from there, where
Nick's
a lot of
yawning. He's so bored.
Sorry, Nick, I'll try and spice it up.
Nick does that.
Can you do an accent? That might
Oi,
No,
okay.
don't. You'll embarrass.
Yeah, no, I'll be insensitive.
Oh, please
I
do.
was like, pick which race you're gonna do.
Oh no. Then the rising action, which is where a lot of the conflict and the intention and the obstacles are coming in. Mm-hmm. Then you have a climax, and then the falling action. Mm-hmm. So with wedding films, it's pretty clear where things are headed. So if you do find that conflict, that can be a great rising action part, because I feel like the middle of a film is often hard to do well.
The middle of a wedding film or any film?
Sorry, middle of a wedding film.
Got it.
Because you can introduce the world and the couple, grab people. You, of course, have a triumphant ending with,
They did it!
They did it. They got married.
Married.
But doing that middle part is tricky. So we're looking for, anytime conflict is brought up, we're looking for something to kind of kick off the story. So after we've set everything up, we're looking for a line from the speeches, or how they got together, or even just, in my opinion, something like funny or heartfelt to kind of kick off that rising action, all leading towards a climactic ending. And climax doesn't necessarily have to mean trumpets. Huge party, trumpets. Yeah, it can be a down moment, but it can be the emotional climax. And if you know or have a good idea of what the couple, what part of the day is going to be that for them beforehand, you can really aim all your filmmaking techniques and decisions and shot choices beforehand to complement those moments.
Yeah, some couples will tell you, they're like, we are so excited for our first look. I don't want to do the ceremony. It's going to be terrifying and awful. We're not doing first looks. So you're like, all right, well, now we know later.
Hot tip. Hot tip.
That type of thing.
Yeah, and when I'm thinking about it, like for the first several years of doing wedding filmmaking, I just wanted to be like that fly on the wall guy that was like, I'm not making any noise. I'm over here quietly. I'm not getting the greatest of angles, but you forgot that I was here, so that's great. And I quickly learned that that's a safe place to be, and you can live there as a wedding filmmaker in the middle market, basically, making cool highlight films, filming a bunch of weddings a year and make good money.
Explore
Like,
again.
yeah, Nick is. This is the time of the day where
I'm
Nick just
sorry.
yawns a little bit. Anything after 3, it's almost. He's in his 40s
sorry.
now. Okay, just give him a second. Okay, it's okay, buddy.
Okay.
You're doing good, buddy.
Can I be in my 4Ds when I'm only 4D?
Yes.
No, no. I don't
Because
wanna
if you
look
think
forward
about
to
it, okay, this is going to be a major sidebar. Major sidebar, real quick.
Here we go.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a nap while you
But-
guys are talking.
But okay. So we say that we start a new decade whenever we turn 20 or 30 or 40. But you're born at 1 and then like at 10? Never mind. It's not going.
Nick, I'm so
But at
confused.
one,
Like
at
What
one,
did you
lived a
smoke?
year.
Is 10 the last of the previous or the first of the next?
Last
First
of the
of the next.
previous.
Yeah, you. This
First of the
is
next,
this is
now that I think
terrible.
about it.
This is the
We
worst
are gonna
podcast
have a
ever.
huge fight now.
I think it's
This
great.
is the worst. This is almost as bad as saying should there be pickles or no pickles on the Chick-fil-A sandwich, which I don't even want to go there.
No pickles.
Never had it.
I've never had Chick-fil-A.
Never had Chick-fil-A. We don't have it.
Oh my God. Okay, that's just stop. Okay, we got to
the
give it
worst podcast.
back
Okay.
to what I was saying. You can live in the middle, which the pickles should live in the middle. Yeah, Nick, that's
Nice
fake.
way to tie it in.
You should get pickles on your chicken sandwich at Chick-fil-A. That's just the truth. That's the fact. But you can literally live in the middle and not tell any story and just kind of make montage highlights. For me, whenever I started really thinking about this, like that's when I started to really charge more money. Like whenever I started to make more and had more fulfilling client reactions and people were sharing my work. And I think that most people, though, just don't even know where to start when it comes to story and how to start telling it. What advice would you have for people out there that like are trying to find it, but like don't even know where to go? Like where would you start? Like, hey, I do want to like lean into story. What should they do?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
You always say start at your high point and work backwards if you are.
That's true. If you can identify the emotional high point of a film and then build out from there, that can go a lot further because you know where you're aiming. Like all your decisions can be to serve that moment. When I learned that, I was like, oh my gosh, that helps so much. But in terms of actually learning, like I would encourage anyone to learn as much as you can about story structure and narrative structure and the different kinds and the story or the history of story. But also watching, in my opinion, watching narrative films like big movies and breaking them down and trying to understand how they work and why they work. And then try to translate that to weddings. That can go a long way. And it can give you a really unique perspective, a fresh take on things, instead of necessarily watching other wedding filmmakers, which can help too. But I feel like it's one of those things that you learn best, or learn to do well by doing over time. You're not going to knock it out of the park first go. But if you are intentional with your approach to storytelling and you're putting effort into finding out all the elements and applying them, it'll come.
Yeah. That's really, really good. Whenever at our retreat that we had in January that you guys were at, Michael from Wedditor, who has gone to school and done a lot of education when it comes to filmmaking and editing and that stuff. And he was talking about creating tension where there isn't tension. And one of the things that he said is like, open a film. Here's a practical example. Open a film where the groom is walking up to his bride for the first look. And then right before he taps her on she taps him on the shoulder, whatever, cut it. And now spend the rest or the next few minutes where it's kind of like you're pitting them opposite of each other. And so it's not like a real, like, oh, there's this actual like aggressive tension, but it is, oh, I want to see them. And you're just waiting for that moment. And then you're, he's on this side, she's on that side, that kind of stuff. And then whenever they come together, like that's the high point, that's the climax, that's where it all resolves. So that could be something practical that maybe you guys could play with and mess around with in your edits.
Yeah.
Mac, Erin, it is so good to hang out with you. And I'm so excited to continue to do that right after this break.
Nick and I have to tell you about one of our favorite places to upload our wedding films, and that is Love Stories TV. Love Stories TV is one of the best free resources for us wedding filmmakers. The best part is they are bringing the couples to us. All we have to do is upload our films and we are good to go. Upload unlimited wedding films to your completely free business page. Setup is easy and your films can be live in just minutes. Now is the perfect time to start uploading to Love Stories TV. So head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/lovestoriestv to check out all of the details and see how Love Stories TV is giving away $10,000 in cash to wedding filmmakers just like you. That's howtofilmweddings.com/lovestoriestv to start uploading and connecting with the right couples today.
Hi, it's Michael from Wedditor. We want to thank everyone for the incredible support we've received since sponsoring How to Film Weddings. Yes, we've had some growing pains, but we've had far more wins. And we're doing something that's never been done. We're a remote team of over 50 editors in 10 countries. I often joke that we're as much a logistics company as we are a creative company. Right now, demand is off the charts. And we don't just say yes to everyone and scramble to figure it out. That's why we're asking you to help us help more of you. In short, we're looking for more talented wedditors, part-time or full-time, work from where you want, when you want, as long as you hit deadlines and deliver quality. It's a chance to get paid while growing as an editor. Our project managers work with you, explaining why something feels right or doesn't, because there's always a reason. If you're interested, we'd love to hear from you. Go to wedditor.com/editor and fill out our form.
All right, we're back from break, and Erin has something to say that she was going to say during the break. Go.
It's easier to say when you know you're not being recorded.
We're not recording this. It's fine.
I'm not
Totally
recording it.
Ignore that red light.
Great. Okay. Well, I don't have to say.
Prep.
We were talking about, yeah. So like having the first look, but then not actually showing the first look, and then
Building
pitting them-
tension.
Yeah, against each other, pitting against each other, not filming them together. Moral of the story: push for prep time, because a lot of people are like, if they're trying to save money, they're like, oh, we don't really need it, we don't really want it. I'm like, I don't really care what you want. It's the only part of the day we have you apart from each other, really separate for the whole day. And so in terms of building towards something, like it's very helpful / necessary for us.
Yeah, because the actual putting on a tie, not of course usually crucial.
Yeah, anyone can do that.
Yeah. But having those characters separate for building tension is really helpful. That's why we push for it.
I think most people, like, we get into this, a lot of people I hear were like, I had another job. Someone asked me to film a wedding. I worked at a church. Someone asked me to film a wedding or something like that. And we kind of get into it. We start watching other people's wedding films, but we never really just like break down the science of storytelling and how to do it. And I love that we're having this conversation because I think a lot of people are getting into their wedding season and getting into shooting a lot. And unless you live in Florida or something like that, where I guess there's no such thing as wedding season, it just happens all year long. But but the thing that like I think that if people take away from this is just like to know these elements of story and to be aware of them and to start breaking down people's other films, other literature, different things, and like really notice, oh, this is the rising action. Oh, this is the climax. Oh, this is the falling action. Oh, this is the resolution. Like knowing those bits of story will help you to say what part of this wedding day could be that. And then, like you said beforehand, knowing any bit of their story before the actual wedding, me knowing that the couple has had all this conflict about not being able to be in the same country and having all this time apart and all this stuff. It like, if I wasn't paying attention, I would just be kind of angry that they had to move their wedding date. It's like, instead I'm like, hey, when you go over to the UK, film yourself with him, film yourself on Zoom calls with him, and then you can add all these layers into the story. And those are the things that will make you that unique artist that nobody else is. And that's the fun part about doing all of this. And so 100%. You guys are like super keen when it comes to story. And I'm super pumped to talk to you guys about something you guys have been working on I would love to kind of hear from you about your super special project, the SPS super special project you've been working on. You've been putting together a course, so I want you to talk about it, what it entails, and anything about the course that you want to let us know about.
For sure. Yeah. So we've spent the last. It's
Don't
been
tell
in
them
the.
how long.
It's why.
I don't know, a long time, forever years.
It's been a long time of putting together this course and actively putting it together for the last year about storytelling, all things storytelling, and applying them to wedding films. There's so much great education out there, and so many people are talking about such crucial elements of creating wedding films and creating successful businesses. But we would love to have the conversation also include how can we just become better storytellers? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing and selling. So we put all of our years of experience and knowledge into a course that covers all things storytelling in wedding films, breaks down how to tell a great story, our kind of process that we've put together over the last 16 years.
It's everything we wish we knew when we started.
Yeah, seriously.
But could not find.
Because like we were saying earlier, it's such a buzzword, especially when we were getting started. It is a buzzword that is thrown around all the time, but we don't all exactly know what it means or what it is. So we wanted to kind of answer those questions, be able to put something in a watchable form.
Yeah. And as of today, as the podcast releases, today is day one of it being open. We'll hit some links in the show notes and stuff. But I want to dive a little deeper into what is in, like, what the modules are, what's in the course, how's it structured, what am I going to get out of it, like, that I'm not going to get out of something just on YouTube. So, Erin, I want you to explain all of that. I'm just kidding.
I'm like, I'm in a couple of the modules. Am I not allowed to touch that?
There we go. Yeah, sorry, Erin, touch something.
Are we literally not going to
We're
read
good.
anything? We're just going to go from
it's
our
all
memory?
off the dome.
All right.
You can read.
Mac won't let me read.
I can. Here, let me pull up something for you.
There's like a lot. There's like so much stuff.
As far as the modules go, we are covering the entire process from pre-production, post-production to post-production, but also pre-production.
Yeah.
So identifying, trying to cut out all that work of, is this couple gonna give me what I need to work with? Are they the right fit for me? That is a huge part of the storytelling process as far as telling interesting stories.
Or stories that you care about.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't care.
So we have modules breaking down all of the storytelling theory, elements of story, all the kind of abstract talk around story, as well as all the practical, camera choices, lens choices, what certain camera movement can achieve, and how it can make a viewer feel. Same with lens choices and all of that. Through production, how to kind of work with couples on wedding days, and that tricky balance of what you were saying about being a kind of a fly on the wall, because we don't want to necessarily alter moments a ton, but at the same time getting what you need to tell your story. And then through post-production, where a lot of the heavy lifting of actually piecing the story together that you've theorized comes into play.
Yeah, and Nick and I had the chance to kind of peek behind the curtain a little bit on the course. Thanks for letting us do that. And Nick sent me.
Them it?
I did.
Yeah, he did. Thank you for that. And Nick, what was it that you text me or you text him? This is nice, or what did you say?
This looks very well. I texted a screen grab of Maclean sitting there, and his computer behind him, and I was like, this looks really, guys. Buy it just to stare at Maclean. Like that's why you should buy it right there.
That's usually not why people like our company. They stare at Erin, not me. So that's cool to hear you say.
I feel weird about that. Okay. I mean, I'm in it too for like a hot second.
I didn't watch anything with you yet.
It's fine. Don't worry.
Well, I'll go find it. I'll go find it right when we're done here. But,
She covers a lot of the
fine.
production part.
yeah. No, I think that I love the angle that you're taking because, there's so many things that in our field and in our world of the wedding films, we're focusing courses on business and stuff, and they're even on like how to shoot, and even in our course, when I put together a section on editing, I was kind of touching on some of these things, but I wasn't like sitting down and diving deep into getting to know couples and figuring out the characters and the themes and all that kind of stuff. So I really appreciate the deep dive on this. So I know you just went through the modules. Like how many sections, how much time, like how is this something where, I can just kind of sit down in an afternoon and watch it all, or is it kind of more designed to, watch a little bit here and there? How's it all set up like that?
Yeah, totally.
That's a good question.
You definitely could sit down and watch the whole thing in one go, but I wouldn't recommend it just because there's a lot of detail.
And like stuff for you to kind of practice and work on after each like module.
Yeah, so it's about, I think, 3.5 hours in total. Again, covering all the stages of the process. And yeah, 3.5 hours. There's also a over 50 page workbook that kind of guides you through as you go and helps you kind of get that thinking moving instead of, we cover all these lofty theory ideas, but it helps you kind of break it down into, okay, how can I shift my thinking to my work, and how can I
apply it?
Yeah. So all of that's in there. We also have a few special documents that we find really helpful before a wedding day. Like we have a wedding day questionnaire that we kind of think of it as like our story research document. Like, yes, there's times and addresses in there, but there's a bunch in there that we're like trying to learn from couples ahead of time so that we can better tell their story.
Is that in all of them?
That is, yes. And then we threw in a couple LUTs in there too, just for fun.
What?
So it's
I created those.
Erin did. She built them from the ground up.
I know what a LUT is.
Right now, I don't know if you're serious or joking.
I don't know.
The
what
latter would be most
Just
accurate.
I don't do
she
colors.
just said on the podcast, I know what a LUT is. No, I love it.
I don't know why
love
I'm here.
Well, that's what I think
on
is
this
cool,
podcast.
because the technical stuff innately and you can figure out, but the storytelling part is a bit trickier and sometimes comes a bit more naturally. You don't have to be a tech wizard to tell a great story.
It's true. Yeah. If I can do it, anyone can do it. No, we did a lot of it together, but there were a lot of parts that Mac did on his own, and so I would be editing it for him. And I'm like, wow, like I learned so much. I've been literally doing this with you for 16 years. I didn't know that. So anyways, I found value in it, and I half created it. So
Yeah, there's so much value in being able to know just kind of the idea and the theories behind all the storytelling and thinking about it as like an investment into your business, what it can do for you. Like we were talking earlier, the more that you know about this stuff, the more you're thinking about story, the more you're shooting for the story, the pre-production, the production itself. Like all of this is going to, over time, help you as a wedding filmmaker not only make better stories, but be able to charge more. If people want to go grab this course today, right now, because they can.
Yes.
Is this something that's only going to be available for a minute? Is it going to be available all the time? And where can they go find it?
So if you go to thestorymasterclass.com, you can learn more about this course and purchase it. This is something that is going to stay open, but for this first week, for the next 7 days, it will be at a special launch price of, I think it's around 20% off. And then from after that, the price jumps up and stays up. In per tutu. So we hope people take I don't really care personally so much as to what kind of impact this course makes for us personally,
Okay,
other
I was like,
than
Where are we going
I
with
just want
this?
people to
Aaron's
talk
face was
about-
like,
To be
I don't
honest,
care
I
about
didn't
the
know
garden.
where I was going.
Yeah.
No, I just want this conversation to shift, and I'm excited for people to just start thinking of this way more and talk more. We also have a Facebook group that will be open to people who purchase the course, where we can continue the conversation and dig in a bit deeper into people's work and try and become better storytellers all together.
I think the best part about like being a storyteller and understanding the process and how it works is it just allows you to be like so much more confident going into a wedding day, and also way more confident in doing your own thing. Like you're not trying to just copy things that you've seen or be like, oh, I've seen this before, I'll put this together. Like it's 100% you and your own story and your own voice. And so I just think there's something very freeing in that.
And having that intention behind it so that you have a reason to be doing all these fancy camera moves or tricks or lens choices or anything like that. Having a purpose behind it will make a more meaningful film, subconsciously or not. And it's a powerful thing to shift your thinking to that.
Yeah, well, again, that's thestorymasterclass.com. If you want to check that out, get a special introductory rate this week as of launching this podcast. Right now, 20% off, so head over to thestorymasterclass.com. Erin, Mac, thank you so much for hanging out with us today on the podcast. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, guys. Good to see you.
Erin and Mac, thank you for coming on the podcast today. We appreciate you taking the time. John, it's been great hanging out with you. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. And again, we want to push Erin and Mac's new course. Head over to thestorymasterclass.com if you would like to pick that up. Remember, this week only, 20% discount. So head over to thestorymasterclass.com. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. And until next time, we will see ya.
See ya. Are you looking for a better way to deliver your wedding films to your couples? Look no further. Our friends over at WedFlow provide the most flexible video delivery solution on the market. WedFlow is pay-per-project with no large upfront cost or commitment, and you can cancel anytime. Not only that, WedFlow offers a premium viewing experience for your couples, accessible on mobile, tablet, desktop, as well as their very own suite of TV apps. Each project comes with 10 years hosting and an experience for your clients that will blow them away. Stop delivering your films the old-fashioned way and give your couples something to rave about. Head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/wedflow to check out WedFlow today.